Well, kia ora whānau, no mai hara mai ki te ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, te kore mako o Taranaki. And wow, we have a very special guest with us today. Someone who has been amazing through the Rugby Union Sevens pathway for quite some time now. She's played New Zealand Women's Sevens for over 10 years, won 2 gold medals at the Olympics in Paris and Tokyo, won a gold and bronze at Gold Coast and Birmingham Commonwealth Games, won a gold and silver at the Rugby World Cup Sevens in San Francisco and Cape Town, won 6 World Sevens trophies, was the first female player to win back-to-back World Rugby Sevens Player of the Year's titles. She was also named Taranaki Sports Award Sportswoman of the Year and overall Sportsperson of the Year in 2021. She was a joint winner of the Taranaki Daily News Person of the Year in 2001 alongside her dear friend Gail Broughton. She holds a record of the most tries by a New Zealand Women's Sevens player in a single match and also holds a record for most tries in a single fixture where she scored 5 tries against England in 2017. In December 2023, she was the second woman to score 200 tries in the HSBC International Sevens Series. No further introduction needed after that. Welcome to our very own Rugby Union Sevens superstar from right here in Taranaki, Michaela Blyde. How are we?
Oh, you know what? Just hearing that, and I feel like that's it. Drop the mic. We're done. That's all we need to do. Yeah, that was... Hearing all of that still makes me like have to pinch myself. Like, yeah, cool. Like I have actually done that. So yeah, no, very, very proud to have achieved all of that with my teammates alongside me.
Yeah, it's an absolute honour to have you with us today, Michaela. Bit starstruck, being the first interview and all, but hey, it's just awesome to have you in our presence and having you here to share your special journey with the rest of our whānau here in Taranaki and around the Mutu. So yeah, firstly, just thought I'd whereabouts are you at the moment? Are you on tour or you at home or?
I'm on holiday, so I'm in my house here in Papamoa. So our Sevens program is centralised in Tauranga. I spent about a week back in Taranaki when I landed back here in New Zealand after Paris. And then I've pretty much been between here and Auckland over the last couple of weeks, doing a lot of social media commitments, a lot of TV stuff and podcasts. So it's been very busy, but it's been great because a lot of people want to hear about our story and share the success and celebrations for going back-to-back gold medals in the Olympic Games.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm sure the body's getting a well-needed rest day after a pretty full-on campaign.
Yes, 100%. My body is first priority of what's to rest. And then obviously the mind and soul is just up there as well. Just taking a break away from rugby for a little bit. And so hopefully you'll see me back on the world stage next year. But for now, I'm just spending some time with my partner and my family and plan a wedding and just, you know, relax a little bit because it's been a very full-on 12 years essentially. But the last 13 months leading into Paris was very hectic, a lot of rugby. So I'm going to take this time to just recover and rest mentally and physically. So come back next season, I'm going to be all fire blazing and all into the program.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You talk about family time. It's so important, amongst all the busyness of professional sports and whatnot. So being home with your family. So for you, where did all that begin? You know, like where were you brought up and a little bit about yourself and your family?
So my family are dairy farmers in Lepperton, in Taranaki. Lepperton is a small village in between Inglewood and Waitara. Very proud to come from that area. There's not a lot of people that are from Lepperton. So I've pretty much been in love with sports since the day I could start walking. My family are very sporty people, very rugby mad. And so rugby kind of had to be incorporated into our lives at some point. So myself and my 3 brothers registered to the Clifton Rugby Club when we were 5. And then, yeah, just loved sport from there onwards. So I played rugby, athletics, soccer, basketball even, touch. I always did cross country. So such an active kid. I had to rely on sport. I wasn't academically the strongest. So I was banking on sport being my long-term career when I graduated from high school. So, yeah, just the love of sport came from being a very proud Naki girl that represented my region and in as many sports as I possibly could. And rugby sevens ended up being the one that could guide me towards representing the fern on my chest. So I'm very grateful for the sport of sevens, but it all started back home in Taranaki, where little Michaela Blyde just really wanted to represent the Naki in as many sports as she possibly could.
That's awesome, man. What a journey. I did hear too that mum and dad were pretty handy in their respective sports. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so mum was a Black Fern. She has one cap. She played for the Black Ferns back in 1992 against an Auckland team. They were officially announced as the first official Black Ferns team where they didn't have to pay fees, or they get to keep their jersey and that. So that was extra special for mum. She's still got some long-term greatest friends from that team that she's still friends with today. My dad was a very, very active person as well, but being a dairy farmer, you know, he had to prioritize a little bit of dairy farming first before he could commit to sport. But he was a very committed Clifton man, and he actually made a mixed New Zealand touch team as well. But he couldn't go to the tournament because there were cows that needed to be milked. So unfortunately, he missed out on representing New Zealand. But that's where the fitness came from, as my dad, and the speed came from my mum. So being very sporty parents, of course, us kids, we're going to have to inherit those sorts of genes and put them in towards our sports as well. So very fortunate to have very sporty parents.
Awesome. And I know you got a few brothers as well, so I'm sure that was there was some good competition growing up on the backyard, or on the paddock.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got an older brother and two younger brothers that are twins, and yeah, growing up we were each other's tackle bags. I couldn't tell you how many fights we had physically growing up because they were endless. But you know, it toughened me up a little bit, that's for sure. I had no fear going into, well, I had a little bit of fear, but I had no concern going into tackling against boys when I was at primary school because I had three brothers that were giving me stick every day. So no, I love them to bits, and they're very supportive of me in my rugby career, and very proud of what they've done as well, even though, you know, they've gone to their respective passions with work and with dairy farming and teaching. They've done some incredible things as well themselves. So very fortunate to have a very supportive family system back home in Taranaki.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. You talk about passions. What about outside of footy? Is there any kind of study or any kind of hobbies or passions you have outside of the footy?
Yeah, so I've dabbled in a few different things. The beauty of our Sevens program is that we have access to the Prime Minister Scholarship, where that Prime Minister Scholarship funds our study. So a lot of our schools do either university studies or go off and do some sort of work experience. So for me personally, I've done a little bit of studies on completely different things. I tried university, but it just wasn't my thing. So I've done a small business course. I've done a criminal psychology course. I've also done dog training and psychology certificates. So I've done heaps. The reason being is so when I do retire from rugby, whenever that may be, I can, you know, sort of venture into something that I'm already passionate about. I'm also extremely passionate about working with Sky Sport. I've done a few broadcasting stuff with them. I've done commentating with Ricky Swinell, and I absolutely loved it. So if that opportunity comes up after retirement, then I'll definitely dive in head first. But yeah, for now, it's just about finding my passion and my true love outside of rugby. But yeah, when I'm so focused on rugby, it's hard to do that. So I try and make time for it as much as I can outside of my commitment to sport.
It's that's really awesome to hear. As you know, for our young listeners out there, obviously, you know, professional footy, you know, 10, 15 years maybe max, eh? So always having a plan B on what happens next after footy is really important. So good advice there, whānau, at home. Make sure you you have a plan B as well and do something else that you're passionate about after footy, eh?
Definitely, but still commit to your footy, because that's what I did after high school. I had a teacher at high school. I can tell the story because it's funny. In my year 13 year back in 2013, and she asked me, "Oh, Michaela, what do you want to do after school?" And I was like, "Oh, I want to be a professional sevens player." And she was like, "I don't think you can do that." And I was like, "Yeah, I can." And she was trying to tell me that I couldn't rely on that, and I had to go to university because being a professional rugby player wasn't going to be able to happen. And so I was like, right, well, I'm going to go prove you wrong. So, yeah, I'd love to say hi to that teacher one day, that's for sure.
I know the feeling. I've had that same discussion at school.
I love proving people wrong. It's just such a little thing that I love to do.
100%, 100%. So talking about proving people wrong, when you how did your debut for the Black Ferns Sevens kind of come about? Like, what was the steps to get there, and when did that all happen?
So in 2012, the Go for Gold campaign started for the establishment of the Women's Sevens team. There was a bunch of different trials across the country for all sorts of, talent of ages. You didn't have to play rugby to go on trial for the Sevens team. So, netballers, soccer players, everything of all ages came to our trial in Taranaki back in 2012. And from that trial, 3 of us were selected for the squad. So myself, Gail Broughton, and Lauren Bayans. And so, just went to multiple camps for a few years. I was 16 when I made the squad. So I was still a developing young player that needed to learn about the game a little bit more. But I made my New Zealand debut in 2013 while I was still at school at the Oceania tournament in Noosa. So I got to play against Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, Papua New Guinea. So I was able to get some really good, easy, early experience against developing teams as well. And then I made my World Series debut at 18 in 2014 with Gail as well, which was really exciting. So it was our first time going somewhere other than Australia. And so, yeah, it was a really great experience. I didn't play a lot. I was behind Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe and, players like Carla Hohepa and Honey Hinemy. So I had to just bide my time and just be patient with my development. So when it came to the time where I was 100% confident, I, stamped my mark on that position. So it took a while for me to get consistent game time in the Sevens team, but nonetheless, I'm super grateful for my journey, and I wouldn't have wanted it to happen any other way, because now I understand the discipline and the hard choices you've got to make to be a consistent player in our team. So it took about 4 years for me to kind of earn that respect. And it was a great journey, and so it's developed a lot of mental strength and resilience in myself. And so hopefully a lot of young girls that come into our squad kind of have the same feeling, that it's just about being patient, biding your time, and waiting for your moment to come, because when it does come, you got to grab onto it with 2 hands.
Outstanding advice. Yeah, inspirational. On that journey, you're hanging in there, like you said, for those 4 years. Once you kind of got to that point where you were kind of, you were named in that starting side from then on in, what are some of the kind of the highlights over your years representing the Black Ferns, like the Sevens side? Like, what are some of the highlights throughout your time so far?
Oh God, I have many. I honestly have so many. But if I had to think of one straight away, it would be the 2018 Commonwealth Games. It was my first pinnacle event. It was in Gold Coast, and so my parents were there watching, which was great. Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast in 2018 was an absolute journey for us. We had a lot of adversity come our way, whether it was with injury or illness. We weren't allowed to stay in the village, so we had to adapt to a lot of different things. But then not only that, the tournament itself, we had quite a few different things happen in our team in the background. And then not only that, it was an extraordinary final against Australia going into extra time, and Kelly Brazier scoring that 80-metre long breakaway try to win us the game. So, yeah, it was one of those games where I could happily relive, but also happily never relive again, because that was what it was like about being in the trenches and just absolutely pushing to the very, very last second, to the point where you literally cannot stand up and give any more. So, yeah, it was one of the greatest finals in Sevens, in my opinion. It was just an absolute battle. But, yeah, obviously the Olympic Games as well was an incredible achievement. That's something that I'll never forget, because for a very long time my dream was to win gold at the Olympic Games. So to have done it twice is an absolute honour. And hopefully, a lot of people will continue talking about our story for many years to come.
I'm sure they will. And one of the really cool things about Sevens, is the travel you get to do, you know, around the world to see so many amazing places. I'm sure you've been to some pretty special places in your time, eh?
Yeah, we go to quite a few different types of countries. So Dubai is very different. And then there's Canada and America. We go to Japan, Cape Town and South Africa. So yeah, there's all sorts of different cultures that we get to experience that are very much so alike but different to the Māori culture and the English culture here in New Zealand. But it's very easy to spot Kiwis overseas, whether it's just the way they walk or the way they say hello. So the greatest thing is that no matter where we go, there's Kiwis everywhere, which is great, makes us feel at home instantly. And then not only that, there's always some form of, you know, Aotearoa flag or black jersey in the stands when we are competing. So although we go to a lot of different places across the world, we still feel at home for some reason, whether it's the people or the black jerseys or whatever that we see in those countries. So yeah, very grateful to have experienced many different cultures. If I had to pick a favorite country, Japan is probably up there. The people there are just incredible, and the food is just like on. Their food is amazing, and we're the type of team that love Japanese food. So any country we go to, we try and find a Japanese restaurant, and we just absolutely hone in on some sushi. So yeah, we've experienced some very cool cultures, and hopefully we can get to experience some new ones coming up in the future.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Just one of the things I've really loved about the Sevens Black Ferns journey is in recent times, especially the battles with Australia, like some really good quality games. So how has that been kind of over recent years? It's always been kind of tit for tat. It's been amazing, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I guess at the beginning of the World Series and end of 2012, started 2013, the advantage that us in Australia had were you know, rugby and touch was a natural sport for us to play. And so Sevens essentially is just like a very physical version of touch, with the amount of space that you have and the change of direction and the angles that you run. And so when it came to World Series tournaments, it always happened to be us and Aussie in finals. But then over time, there's been teams that have definitely put their hand up and said, watch out. You know, France is a classic example. And then if you look at the Paris Olympics, Canada and USA have really stamped their mark on the Sevens series as well. So yeah, it's been a developing sport over time for women, but it has grown so much. You know, I look back on games from 2013, 2014, and the skill set has developed so much. It's actually really scary. Just even as basic as our catch and pass, you know, women can now pass both ways, whereas passing left to right was probably a little bit difficult at the beginning. So now it's, you know, it's an equal playing field, and that makes it really exciting for the game and for other developing countries that are still yet to kind of reach that standard as well. So in a few years' time, there's going to be no absolute favourite, because, you know, there's a lot of teams that are really prioritising the development of Sevens at the moment.
Speaking on that, with the growth of the women's game, it's just been phenomenal over recent times, hasn't it? And those stalwarts back in the day that kind of, you know, held strong to the women's game, kind of laid the platform for the next generation to come through. So it's amazing to see. And obviously recently with the Olympics experience, how was that campaign, and how was winning gold like, and the success that New Zealand had for such a small nation globally at the Olympic Games? How was that experience?
Yeah, obviously it's an experience that you really can't describe unless you're a part of it. Being a part of an Olympic Games is, a lot of people dream of it, but when you're actually a part of it, yeah, it's overwhelming, to be honest. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of people around, and you're always trying to look out for, you know, some high status athletes. But yeah, the development of women's sports, especially over the last few years, but massively after Paris, you know, there has been some incredible successes in the women's sport. You know, I look at like athletes like Sydney McLaughlin from USA, who annihilated everyone in the women's 400-meter hurdles. There was the USA swimmer that also annihilated her opponents. Lisa Carrington, you know, like the amount of women's athletes at the Olympics that stamped their mark in history or broke world records or whatever it was inspirational, you know. So there were many stories about the women's sports, which was really exciting, and a lot of gold medals won across the sports. I actually saw a stat where if the USA women's athletes alone were a country, with the amount of medals that they won for USA, they would have got 3rd overall on the medal tally. So it just shows that a lot of people are now putting a lot of time, effort, and commitment to the women's sports. But that just comes with people investing in it and wanting to support it, so then it can grow, and, you know, not be the shadow of men's sport anymore. So it's exciting, and it makes you very proud to be a wahine toa who plays incredibly, you know, great rugby, and a sport that just, you know, is inspiring a lot of people to show that you can be feminine and you can be playing an incredible sport at a very powerful and strong status. So yeah, very proud to be a part of this history, and hopefully it can continue to grow over the next 4 years for this next Olympic cycle.
Well, I know for us here in Taranaki, Michaela, seeing you fly the flag for Taranaki and for our country over there is amazing. And just to see some of our, you know, someone from home, you know, representing, you know, our little province out in the big wide world is awesome. And I suppose touching on that in terms of Taranaki talent, for such a small province, we have some amazing, you know, amazing talent that comes from here. And we're just kind of thinking of a few names in our women's rugby spaces: Gail Broughton, yourself, Michaela Callister, Kendra Coxedge, and Iritana Hohaya. How cool is it to see the different talent coming through from Taranaki within the game?
Oh yeah, it makes you so proud. Growing up in Taranaki, when it came to my sport, I was a big fish in a small pond. And so the way that I was able to truly see my talent and my strength was being amongst the Blackfern 7 squad. So to see Gail and Kendra and Iri do the same thing over time has been, you know, it does make you very proud to come from a very small region of Taranaki. But, you know, I think of other athletes like Zoe Hobbs, who's from Eltham, and then the Barrett brothers. You know, there's so many people that have just absolutely really put Taranaki on the map for us. We're a very, very small region full of rural people. You know, we're not very city-like people, us Naki kids. And so you don't have to come from a big city to do incredible things. And so I have to continue sending that message to as many kids as you can, like especially my primary school, Lipperton, and all the other rural primary schools and high schools, who think that they don't have the ticket to the big smoke because they come from a small place. But if you really put your mind to it and you just work really, really hard, those things come your way. And that's what I had to just continuously tell myself was, although it was hard for me to, I guess, be recognized when I got older before I made the sevens team, because I was from such a small place, that never made me give up. It actually made me want to train harder, made me want to work harder. So then when it came my time to shine, I was ready. And so, yeah, Taranaki have done some really incredible things. We have to be proud of where we come from, because I really bounce off that kind of energy, being someone who comes from a very small region.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now I'm hearing little rumours. I don't know if the rumours are true, but it's getting out there of a potential opportunity or switch to maybe rugby league, have a cricket rugby league with, you know, some of your Blackfern Sevens mates. Have you always thought about this as a possibility, or like have you ever played rugby league, or is there any kind of interest maybe in the future?
Look, if I had to be completely honest, there wasn't a lot of interest 3 months ago. But I tease a lot of the girls who go off and play 15s in league while they're still contracted to us. I always say, oh, where's your loyalty to the sevens program? And it tease them to not come back and all that, just to, you know, throw some banter in there. But I guess as I get a little bit older, I'm probably on the other side of my career now, where I'm creeping closer to retirement. I've been in the squad for 12 years now. And so for me, it's about, you know, continuing to challenge myself, but also find something that brings me just as much excitement as sevens. And it's important for female rugby players to make the most of the opportunities that we get given while we can, especially while these sports are financially supported. Because when we go off outside of rugby, wherever that venture may be, you know, the next career choice could be probably not as extravagant, you could say. So I'm going to make the most of every opportunity that I can. And if that means going off and playing league, then yeah, 100% I'm going to be all in. If it's 15s, who knows? But yeah, it's exciting times. You know, there's obviously conversations going on, but for me, my focus right now is to be present with my family and my fiance and plan a wedding. I can't wait to marry my fiance and, you know, bring our families together as one. But yeah, next year is going to be Seven's priority, of course. And then, you know, we'll keep it a surprise. We'll keep people guessing and keep people thinking what's going on, because I love making people think that something's going on. So yeah, we'll keep the conversations going, and we'll keep the thought there. But for now, I'm going to enjoy being on holiday with my loved ones.
Well, hey, from all of us here in Taranaki, Michaela, we wish you well in your wedding planning. Oh, it must be so exciting for you and your partner and your family. And whatever your next steps are, Michaela, Taranaki's right behind you. You have been and continue to be an inspiration and shining light to so many young kōrero and tama, not only here in Taranaki, but across Aotearoa and around the world. So thank you for leading the way for our next generation and showing what it takes to be disciplined and strong and keep pushing to strive for your dreams. And, you know, yeah, we're really, really happy for you and all that you've achieved and all that you're doing at present. So on behalf of us, thank you for your time, and it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today.
Kia ora, Cavs. Tautoko that. It's just been an incredible journey. It really has, and I'm so proud to represent my country, but probably more proud to represent my small region of Taranaki and my small town of Leperton, because, yeah, us rural kids can do some pretty cool things. So I'll continue to work hard for them so they can see that it is possible, no matter where you come from. So very proud Naki girl, and we'll continue to spread that message to everyone across the world.
Thanks again, Michaela. Appreciate your time. Whānau, thank you for tuning in to what has been a pretty special kōrero and insight into the life of Taranaki's very own Michaela Blyde. Make sure to stay tuned for more awesome interviews with our special sporting whānau from around the motu. Te ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here at your